G'day subscribers, today we're going to Jive talk about using the AHF judging system for marking the exterior of a vehicle at a car show. I'm Jules Knight and you're on Jive Talking Garage. So in looking at the AHF Appendix 3 guidelines, it's talking about the judging system for the exterior. Now it's broken up into 6 parts, and what I'll do is I'll share the sheet at the end of the video for you so you can actually see what I'm talking about. But this is what the judges use when they're actually marking a vehicle, or marking all the vehicles actually. And don't forget, judges are impartial, independent, they're knowledgeable. They're supposed to be knowledgeable, and they're supposed to, be very fair in what they're doing. And that's how I've always approached it anyway. But exterior is broken up into 6 parts. And the first one is paintwork. The next one is chrome. This is followed by rubber parts, then glass, panel fit, and wheels. Now, all of that adds up to 100 points in the end. So if we talk about the paintwork first, now that is out of a total of 40 points. So there's, quite a lot of surface on the exterior of a Holden, and we'll talk about FJ Holdens because it's the AHF guidelines, and that's what's used for judging 48215 and FJ. So originally these vehicles were painted in nitrocellulose lacquer, but that lacquer, although it's easy use and quick drying, couldn't really handle the pollution levels of Australia at the time, and also the buff and shine and the amount of work that's required to actually get it to become brilliant after it's painted. I think it was the FB that came out with the magic mirror finish. So that's probably 1959, say. So from 1948 to 1959, you had nitrocellulose lacquer. And this was followed by acrylic lacquer. Now, acrylic lacquer is still very popular today. Now, acrylic lacquer is a single stage paint too. And it's pretty easy to use. It's very forgiving. And it's a case of, you either paint, acrylic or enamel or 2K now. But with the acrylic lacquer, you've actually got to work it at the end of the application to sand it down, get any scratches or imperfections out of it, because what you're trying to do is cut the top surface of it to do 2 things. Firstly, to remove orange peel, because that's the type of texture that comes out because of air turbulence out of the gun, and to secondly allow you to be able to hit it with a wool or a foam buff and to be able to cut the top surface of the paint off. You'll hear people talking about cutting and polishing, and what that's doing is it's cutting the top surface off, or you're sanding the top surface, and you might start off with fine sandpaper, and then you just get finer and finer as you're getting all the scratches out of it and getting that orange peel down. And it really is the surface of an orange. That's what it sort of looks like when it comes off the gun, and it can, sometimes glisten. If you're painting on a cold day, it can blush and be cloudy. You don't want that, obviously. So generally speaking, acrylic lacquer is pretty easy to spray. I've used acrylic. I used acrylic on my NASCO panel van, my HD X2, and also my FJ Ute. So it's pretty easy to paint. I've painted in spray booth, in the driveway, in the garage. It's yeah, pretty easy. And you just need a decent gun and to be able to spray at a normal PSI, and you really don't have trouble with it. It's quite good. You follow what the system is, and you don't have an issue. So that's acrylic lacquer. So acrylic lacquer came after nitrocellulose lacquer because it's a more stable paint. It's less susceptible to pollution and atmospheric conditions. Now, the other paint that was used was enamel. Now, enamel can commonly be called jam. You'll hear people say, oh, it's a jam job. Well, it's an enamel paint. Now, enamel pretty much goes over everything. Now, enamel will go over acrylic, but acrylic won't go over enamel. It'll just fizz up. Just can't handle it. It's a different chemical reaction. But enamel goes over acrylic. Acrylic does not go over enamel, just to recap that. Enamel is a good drying paint. It has more shine off a gun, and it's a harder paint when it hits the surface. You can get the orange peel effect in the paint, but I found and I'm only talking from my perspective, I found it's more susceptible to get a run in it. I've got a friend that used to do enamel jobs on Valiants, and he would give it as much as possible and then come in the morning and, as far as the enamel is concerned, and using a razor blade, cut the bottom of the guards because that's where all the paint would drip down. I came close one day when I had to do a race car at TAFE, just the little cars they use. I loaded it up with as much enamel as I could put on it for fear of if I put any more on it, it will run. So that was fine. So it's pretty sturdy and it goes over anything, whereas acrylic is not as difficult to use, and it's very forgiving. You can block acrylic down, but it's a bit harder than acrylic. But anyway, so and then we saw a continuation of technology with Dulux, PPG, all those sorts of paints as they move from a single stage to a two-stage paint. So you'll see 2K paint, or COB, clear over base. So what they're doing first is putting the base color down, and once the base color goes down, say for instance they might give it three coats of color, or more, whatever is the specification, and then however many coats of clear over the top of it. And what that's doing is giving it a brilliant shine and sealing everything in, such that buffing really isn't required if it's just a domestic type of job. Whereas if you see some shows on YouTube and TV where they will block and buff 2K, but the application of 2K is a lot more complicated and dangerous than acrylic lacquer or enamel, because it has isocyanates in the paint, and once isocyanates get in your body, they stay there. They don't you breathe them in, and what it can do is it can contract your airways, and you can have difficulty breathing. So from that perspective, isocyanates can be hard to paint with from the perspective of they're a dangerous material to use. So you need to be trained in it, you need to have the safety data sheet, and you need to have the appropriate breathing apparatus to keep you safe while you're actually doing it. Now, 2K is it's a pretty sophisticated paint. It looks really good off the gun. You get an instant gloss with it. I've seen acrylic lacquer jobs with an instant gloss too, and it absolutely glistened. But what I'm talking about is a job that they don't need to buff if they don't want to, depending upon the finish that they want to get. So that's sort of the differences in the paint. So 2K is more modern cars. they're used for restoration and refinish now when you're doing a big job on a car. But generally speaking, the older cars were, acrylic lacquer. That was pretty much the go. So anyway, let's get back to the judging. So there's 40 points for paintwork. So it's a matter of looking at the paint and the condition of the paint and how it's been applied and how much orange peel's in it, because what they're looking for is for the orange peel to be blocked out of it and it to be buffed and have a nice shine and all those sorts of things. And the total that's allowed there is 40 points. So it's a matter of going around the vehicle and looking at the condition of the paint and giving it a score out of 40. And sometimes you can do that generally, or you can break it up individually, and score the bonnet out of 10, say, the guards out of 5, and work your way around, the rear guards and the boot and so on until you get your 40 points, and you just, allocating, what this is, or what, it just depends on whatever system that you're actually using. But anyway, that's the paintwork, and paintwork is out of 40 points. Now, chrome work is out of 15. So it'll be a case of something similar to paintwork, where the judges will walk around and inspect the chrome on a vehicle and determine out of a possible 15 points what the actual score is. So 15 is obviously perfection, the same as with paintwork. 40 would be perfection. And really just going from that perspective of what they think that vehicle scores out of a possible 15, whether it's brand spanking new chrome that we're talking about and it's actually been put back together properly and everything's operational with the chrome work and so on, and it's been beautifully polished and all that sort of stuff, through to something that's original from the factory, through to something that is original and is in very poor condition. So it just really depends. There's lots of things that can come at play there. The next component is rubber parts, and rubber is out of 10. So you've got rubbers all over your car, your windscreen rubber, your quarter glass rubbers, your rear windscreen, the little rubbers that are on the extremity of the vehicle. All of those rubber parts and the condition of them and how they're being looked after, that's 10 points. Now, the cars were originally produced with safety glass, such that if safety glass receives an impact from a rock or a stone or a object, well, it will shatter. Whereas with the modern laminated glass, it doesn't shatter at all, and what happens is it's more tough and sturdy. It can split, however it stays together. It doesn't disintegrate into a whole shattering of the windscreen itself, and also in a lot of instances an internal collapse of it too. So glass around the vehicle, the condition of that is 10 points. And the same for panel fit. This is probably the bane of existence for a lot of restorers in getting panel fit right and how you approach panel fit, because panel fit is 10 points. I remember when my Mustang was actually in the panel shop, I said to David, he came down one Saturday because I would go down on the weekends and do work, and he would just sit and talk to me with whatever I was doing. And this one particular day, he was welding strips of metal onto the ends of my doors. And I said to him, well, what are you doing? And he said, I'm just welding up the door gaps, making them all nice and tighter. So I said, what are you doing that for? He said, I want you to have better than factory door gaps on your car. I thought, wow, that's really clear. It's all of those little things that you don't consider for judging that that are actually considered as part of it. And panel fit is 10 points. The most difficult thing on an FJ would be the getting the bonnet right. I know on my friend's car, we spent 24 man hours fitting the bonnet and getting it right with the hinges and all that sort of thing. And that was extremely difficult doing that juggle, getting, raising the bonnet a little bit, bringing the bonnet down, moving it forward a little bit, getting it right here, because you've got the guard there as well. So it's a relationship between the guard, both sides, the eyebrows, both sides, the grill bar, all those sorts of things, how it sits against the firewall. It's a real juggle. But anyway, once it's done, it's done. That's why you'll see a lot of stockies. They got really good door gaps. They got really good bonnet gaps. The factory got it right. They had a system there. And I've got to say, from all of the clips on YouTube and stuff like that, they were not gentle. From car factories around the world, they just, something's not fitting right, they'll stick a block of wood in there and bend it, or they'll give it a hit and bang it and whatever. And whereas we don't do that. We're sort of too precious with our cars. So from that perspective, panel fit, 10 points. Now the other one is wheels. So there's 5 wheels on cars. It's worth 15 points. I sort of use the basis that it's, 15 points a wheel. 3 points a wheel to get to my 15. And so it's a matter of, I'll just go round. If they're all perfect, well, they're going to get 15, aren't they? If however many of the 5 are perfect, or that, they'll get 3 a wheel, and you'll just work out what works for you as you're going along, to sort of work out the exterior points. But the total for the exterior is 100. So you've got 40 for paint work, 15 for chrome, 10 for rubber work, the rubber parts. Glass is worth 10. Panel fit is worth 10. Wheels are worth 15, and that gives you your 100. So that's what's used with the AHF judging system for exterior. And I'll put a snapshot of the 100 points up, so that people know exactly what's being scored. But we're doing a bit of a series on what is actually judged when you go to a state titles or a nationals, or the AHF judging systems used. But that gives you a bit of an idea on how they score these things. Don't forget to stop by Facebook and come and see what we're doing at Nasco Bay, Jive Talking Garage. Also, we'd like you to subscribe and share, but more importantly, enjoy your Holden.